Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Strixhaven draft. Now, I like Callous Blood Mage. Wow, Blood Mage, because it is kind of like a Swiss Army vampire. But I think Igneous Inspiration is actually much stronger and limited. All of the modes on the Blood Mage are good, but Igneous Inspiration is a removal spell and can get you another card. Otherwise, there's Zimone, which is a very, very powerful effect, but I think we're going to take the burn spell. All right, pack number two. Pack number two, there's two amazing ramp cards in this deck, or in this pack of cards. We have Emergent Sequence and Cultivate. I think one of the better decks that you can actually build in this format is the three-color Prismari plus Quandrix, which I don't think I've done yet. Otherwise, we could take Elemental Summoning as a good lesson for Igneous Inspiration. That does technically keep us more open. There's a Pigment Storm, which we could take if we wanted to just be generically open. This is a powerful removal spell. We could still go into Lorehold with it. But Cultivate's super good. What do we do? I'm gonna go for the Cultivate. I feel like it'll be more fun than just the straight up like Lorehold aggro deck. Devouring Tendrils is a great green card. Fractal Summoning is an excellent lesson. I'll take Devouring Tendrils. Memory Lapse? This card is not fun to play against. We could take it, and then people can have less fun by proxy. We're already considering playing like green-blue and maybe splashing red. There's also Rise of Extus. And this card is actually better than Memory Lapse in Limited, even though Memory Lapse is not a card you get to play with all that often. I'm going to take Rise of Extus just because this card is so strong. I think Biomathematician or Memory Lapse is the actual pick for this deck. Green-black is a color scheme. So is like 5-color, according to the one opponent that we played against. Yeah, I'm going to take Rise of Extus. We'll see what happens. Just think the card is too strong. Field Trip. I do like Field Trip. It's another good ramp spell. I think Witherbloom Pledge Mage might actually be the pick here. Man, it looks like red-white and red-blue are wide open. But we're still getting good green cards. So Letter of Acceptance would be fixing to allow us to play all of these cards. Introduction to Prophecy is probably what I should take because we do have, what is this, 3 learn spells now and nothing to do with them yet. Fractal Summoning seems good here. Yeah, I'll put that in the sideboard as well. I wouldn't mind Cram Session. Hunt for Specimens is good. Eureka Moment is decent card advantage. I've taken no creatures yet, which is probably a bad sign. I'm going to take Cram Session. I'm going to try and stay out of Quandrix, and I'm going to try and play probably Witherbloom and maybe splash this Igneous Inspiration. Okay, 10 of the Pests. We also have Moldering Karok. I think I have to take the Moldering Karok because I just don't have creatures yet. Alright, out of this pack, I guess I can take the Lorehold Campus. If we just get tons upon tons of fixing, I could have an actual real deck like this. Leech Fanatic is excellent because of the lifelink and it comes down early. Spectre of the Fens is better if we're going taller, which we kind of are because we have a ramp spells, but I'll take the Leech Fanatic. Spined Karok, Promising Duskmage, or Silver Quill Campus. Wow. I think the Campus is probably what I should take, but I'm going to take the Duskmage because I don't have that many creatures. Igneous Inspiration. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go another draft without you. I'll take Letter of Acceptance. Resculpt in the side. Yeah, I may not be playing either of these. We'll see. Harmonize seems like an excellent spell. So does Environmental Sciences, Karok Wrangler, Leyline Invocation, and Blood Researcher. I think I have to take Blood Researcher. It's definitely better for the it's the best card if we're in the strategy for it. Harmonize is better in Quandrix than it would be in Witherbloom. Karok Wrangler is excellent, but is very slow. Blood Researcher, if you're in the Witherbloom, I think you need to like curve out a little bit more. And it synergizes with Promising Duskmage, so we'll take the Researcher. Okay, another Blood Researcher, but there's also a Snakeskin Veil. And I've said this like a million different times. Snakeskin Veil has carried every single draft that I've gotten it in. I'm going to take the Blood Researcher, though. Hopefully we can find a Snakeskin Veil across this entire draft. We'll see. So right now we have 2 lessons, 2 learn spells, 3 learn spells. Mage Duel is the strongest card, I think, for us. in this pack. I could take Silverquill Apprentice or Spiteful Squad, as there's a small chance we can splash white because we have things like Rise of Extus, but Mage Duel goes in this deck hands down. Okay, there's a Master Symmetrist, another Moldering Karok, an Overgrown Arch. Overgrown Arch synergizes with Blood Researcher quite a lot, and the learn part of it could be very relevant in this deck. I think I'm going to take this card because I have 2 if you gain life cards that we can curve into this and then gain life and make it bigger. Yeah, I'm going to take the Overgrown Arch. That feels really weird, but I think that's the play. Okay, here we have another Moldering Karok, an Introduction to Annihilation, a Cogwork Archivist, a Scurrid Colony, or Mage Hunter's Onslaught. I think I have to take the Onslaught. I wouldn't mind the Introduction to Annihilation, but Onslaught being a hard removal spell is just much stronger here. Eye Twitch or Inkling Summoning. Eye Twitch might come around, although I am a bit creature light. I want to take Inkling Summoning because I don't have that many lessons yet. Lash of Malice, I think, is a playable card. I think this card's actually really good, especially if you have higher toughness creatures. Synergizes with, like, Moldering Karok quite nicely. We have no 1-drops yet. Spectre of the Fens I wouldn't mind either. But I think Lash of Malice probably needs to get picked higher than it normally does. Lots of Guiding Voices come around. Someone's going to be very happy in that deck. We'll take Biblioplex Assistant. I think Leyline Invocation is the play here, simply because we want more creatures. The Charge Through is nice, but we don't have that much Magecraft. Snakeskin Veil came all the way around because nobody respected this card. I gotta take it. Reckless Amplimancer. I don't think we're splashing white, so I'll just take the bear. I think I have to take another one, because we're not playing blue. We don't need to mill ourselves either. Scurrid Colony is fine. Charge Through is fine. And Solve the Equation is fine. This is the only rare that I, like, never pick. Search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, and then shuffle. If it's an instant or sorcery, put a 1/1 counter on it. I really dislike Auric Lore Mage. I'm sad we're not in red because Shock would be awesome. I think we've got to take Environmental Science here, or Infuse with Vitality, but Environmental Science seems better. Just having more lessons, giving you more options, just seems more powerful, like Expanded Anatomy. I could take Fortifying Draft or Scurrid Colony, but Expanded Anatomy seems better. Deadly Brew, there's Pest Summoning. Oh, crap. I've got to take Rise of Extus. This card's just too good to pass. Let's see. Another Witherbloom Pledge Mage is probably fine. Silverquill Pledge Mage is more aggressive, but Witherbloom I think is easier to cast for us. Introduction to Prophecy is fine, but we technically do need more creatures. Daemogoth Titan. I think I do take this card on the off chance that there's a 10 to the Pests coming around. Because if we can get this card and that card, it's pretty nuts. If we can get some Pest Summonings as well, the card is not bad by itself. If this card had Trample, I think it'd be too strong and limited. Let's see, Double Major, Mortality Spear, Expanded Anatomy. Mortality Spear is another incredibly strong removal spell, which I'm not, like, against just maxing out on, because we have, like, Lash of Malice, Mage Hunter's Onslaught, multiple Rise of Extuses. Like, that seems really good. Devouring Tendrils. We don't need to go super tall, so it's not like we really need to be playing field trips. Or multiple field trips, I should say. Pest Summoning is perfect. So is Unwilling Ingredient. Oh, that's kind of tough. I think I take the Pest Summoning here. Specifically because we do have Daemogoth Titan. Let's see, Village Rites or Leech Fanatic. We don't have a lot of creatures we want to sack, but Village Rites is powerful. I think I take another Leech Fanatic here because of the Blood Researchers. Infuse with Vitality or Campus Guide. We don't really need more creatures at this point, but I also don't think we're playing Infuse with Vitality. I'll put this in the sideboard, we'll see. Silverquill Pledge Mage or Fortifying Draft. I'm going to take Fortifying Draft. Deadly Brew or Pest Summoning. Deadly Brew is another good removal spell, but I think I'm actually going to take Pest Summoning here. Just to help make the Titan actually playable. It gives us a lot of options with our learn spells. Like, it feels like we can grab something for any situation. Promising Dusk Mage, I'll take over Square Up. I don't really think Square Up is playable. I guess it technically is, but... yeah. Put a Charge Through in the sideboard. I guess I'll put a Curate in the side. Not playing either of those. An Unwilling Ingredient. Perfect. Our final card was playable for us. Okay. Group creatures separately. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. Leyline Invocation is technically just a 6-mana 6/6 token. So it's effectively a creature. I don't think we're playing Charge Through. I may not need to play Field Trip, but I like... We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 removal spells in this deck. I think I cut a Reckless Amplimancer. We don't really put a bunch of 1/1 counters on anything. I mean, unless we're doing Expanded Anatomy, which I guess is a reason we can play Promising Duskmage. Although, do we need both? I don't think we play Biblioplex Assistant. It's just a little bit under or overcosted for what it's going to do for us. I've got this feeling that I don't need Field Trip. If I take out Field Trip, we have Overgrown Arch, Cram Session, and 2 Rise of Extus, which is 4 lessons we can learn. We have more than 4 lessons. We have 7 lessons. Maybe I do need to play Field Trip. I'm going to play it over Fortifying Draft. Fortifying Draft seems sweet with the Blood Researchers, but... and with the Witherbloom Pledge Mages as well. I think I'm going to cut the other Amplimancer. Then I need to cut one more card. I think I'm going to cut Lash of Malice. And then if we run into a deck that has a lot of small creatures, like if we play against the Silverquill deck, we'll consider playing it. We don't need to play any planes. I think if I do 9 and 7, it seems reasonable. Because we have a lot of double black between our Rise of Extus and our Mage Hunter's Onslaught, which are cards that can only be played with exclusively double black mana in this deck. Maybe we go 8 and 8. Because we do have Cultivate, which fixes, and that's green. Alright, well let's see if we can make the Daemogoth Titan work. I'll see you guys in round 1. Alrighty, round 1, we will be on the play, and I will be keeping this. This seems pretty good. We've got a Learn spell, so we can go get whatever we need, because we have basically one of everything except removal in the sideboard. Lead on Swamp, play Unwilling Ingredient, pass the turn. Opponent leads on Mountain. We draw a Forest, play a Forest, go to combat, attack them for 1, pass the turn. Do we Cultivate or do we Field Trip first? Go to combat, attack. I think we Cultivate. Just because it gets more cards out of our deck and makes more of our draws live. We'll get a Swamp and a Swamp. So opponent knows we're holding a Swamp now. Pass the turn. Opponent plays their 3rd Mountain. Enthusiastic Study, they are just learning. That seems concerning. Is this to make a Spirit? Like, they didn't loot, and they didn't tutor. They just threw that card away? Yeah, they learned, but they didn't have any lessons? Or they clicked through that? That's confusing. Play Witherbloom Pledge Mage, go to combat, hit them for 1. Okay. They go to 17, untap, and scoop. Alright. They're red, so we probably need Lash of Malice, but I'm gonna wait until I have a better idea of, you know, what kind of lore hold cards my opponent's playing, because if they're playing a bunch of X4s, I don't think I really want the Lash. Like, if they're playing a bunch of the upper end cards I'm talking about. Alright, we'll be on the draw for game 2, and I don't think I can keep a 1-lander, even with 3 good 2-drops, so I'm gonna mulligan. I consider this better. Put back a Swamp. Okay, so this reference is something that I don't think almost anyone is gonna get, but for anybody who played Guild Wars 1, as in the first MMO released by ArenaNet of that series, do these guys look like Kurzik Juggernauts from the Kurzik faction from Guild Wars Factions expansion? Because they kind of do to me. And I think that's cool. I always thought, like, Plant Hulk shock troop things were pretty awesome. Random tangent, sorry. Oh, so our opponent is not, like, Lorehold. They're Prismari. That's interesting. Lead on Forest, pass the turn. Opponent is taking a long time to make their plays. Alright, they play an island. We untap. Draw a Swamp. Play a Swamp, play Leech Fanatic, pass the turn. Yeah, geez, my opponent really is taking a long time. Maybe they're new to the Moto interface. I could see that. All right. Opponent finally plays a Tome Shredder. We untap and draw a Leyline Invocation. Play a Swamp, and I think we got a fight here. Not sure why my opponent took so long, but hit them for 3. After Mage Dueling. Just gained ourselves a bunch of extra life there. This spell would be really broken if it was you cast any other spell, because then I could have like Leech Fanatic'd and then fought. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. That seems good. That seems real good. We draw Field Trip, play a Swamp, go to combat, attack for 2, opponent takes 2. Let's go ahead and Field Trip, because I really want to be able to play the Witherbloom Pledge Mage. I kind of want to take Expanded Anatomy, but I don't want to go too tall on a single creature when my opponent still has 4 cards in hand. If I take Environmental Sciences, I can get up to Leyline Invocation. I could take Pest Summoning, and then I could Pest Summoning plus Leech Fanatic in a single turn. That sets up for our Titan if we ever draw it. I'll take the Pest Summoning, because then I can play 2 spells in a turn. Okay, opponent leads on Expressive Iteration and draws a card. They attack us for 2. We untap. I think if I draw a land, I'll play Leyline Invocation this turn. And there's our opponent going again with the long pauses. Alright. We draw a Forest. Go to combat. Attack for 2. See if our opponent is willing to trade their Spectacle Mage. If not, they may have a Creative Outburst. Or, what is it, Elemental Masterpiece? Or in the dreaded absolute worst case scenario, Magma Opus. I'm really worried that my opponent is going to time out. Have they said anything to me, I wonder? Nope. Okay. Alright, opponent finally passes priority. We hit them for 2 and gain 2. Play a Forest, and let's cast Leyline Invocation. This way, if we draw land next turn, we can play Witherbloom Pledge Mage and Leech Fanatic, and if we don't, we can play Pest Summoning and Leech Fanatic. Okay. They must be duo queuing. They play a Mountain, Pigment Storm to kill our Leech Fanatic, then they play a Prismari Apprentice. Shouldn't they have done that in reverse? Because this would have gotten a 1/1 counter. They hit us for 2 in the air. We untap. We draw an Overgrown Arch. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Opponent chumps. Okay. We either play the Pledge Mage, we play the Fanatic and Arch, or like Fanatic and Pest Summoning, or Pest Summoning and Arch. I think I like playing the 5/5 best. We'll represent Snakeskin Veil because we actually have it. Alright, opponent plays a Wormhole Serpent, then passes. We draw Rise of Extus, and I'm sorry, opponent. Let's exile that and Pigment Storm. Gain a life. I guess I'll take Expanded Anatomy. Go to combat. Attack for 11. Rise of Extus is so good! So good in Limited. Like, I took this card when I was pretty sure I wouldn't even be in the colors for it. And I got 2 of them, and I'm very happy that I chose this because I identified an open lane that way. Because it was like 3rd or 4th pick. I don't even think it was like the first pick of the pack or anything. Or like 2nd or, you know. I just think the card's good. In Limited. I mean, it's not constructed playable or anything, but... Alright, opponent finally timed out. I'm not sure what that was about, but I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, we get to be on the play for round 2. This tells me... This feels like this hand is a trap, so I'm going to mulligan. This feels a lot better. I think I put back a Forest here. The Pledge Mage is strong enough that, like, eventually getting lands to get there seems fine. And worst case scenario, I can just cram Session to get our Environmental Science if we're not top decking lands in the first couple turns. Alright, we'll keep, put back a Forest, lead on Swamp, pass the turn. I don't talk about this all that often, but when you're playing Limited especially, it's not as big of a deal in Constructed, especially not in a format like Modern, where access to mana colors is super easy. But in Limited, you really need to make sure that you're sequencing your lands in a way that you're least likely to make a mistake or take into account the most cards that you have access to. So, like, I played Swamp there because I'm going to have more double black cards than double green cards, and also I'm holding only forests. So, you know, if I played Forest, I might not be able to play the Swamp on the turn after, or, you know, and still make it to my 3-drops and whatnot. It's just really important. Mana-based sequencing is really important. Play Promising Duskmage, pass the turn. So we are against Silverquill. This probably means I'm bringing in the Lash spell game 2 and 3. Also would really like to draw a Snakeskin Veil, provided they don't have sorcery speed removal. If they attack, I'm not blocking. Alright, opponent plays Reflective Golem. We untap, we draw Cultivate. Play a Forest. Expanded Anatomy. Go to combat, attack for 4. Opponent takes it. Opponent untaps. Guiding Voice. Oh man, they can reflect it and double learn. That seems pretty good. Presumably they learn onto the same creature as well. They do not. Alright, they learn Expanded Anatomy. And they learn another Expanded Anatomy? Okay, we gotta kill this Reflective Golem, like, now. Opponent hits us for 5. They play Unwilling Ingredient. We draw Scurrid Colony. Play a Forest. Go to combat. Man, if they play a land and can Expanded Anatomy and Reflect, it's gonna spell bad times for us. Okay, we hit them for 4, they go to 12. Play Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Pass the turn. Because their guys are gonna get huge and gain Vigilance? Oh no. And this is not the only turn they'll be doing this. This is an incredibly strong line. Do we trade? I think I am gonna trade. The problem is them stacking Expanded Anatomy onto Unwilling Ingredient is also not good. Play a Forest. Play a Scurrid Colony. We'll Cultivate, getting Swamp and Swamp. Then we gotta pass the turn. So next turn we can turn the Scurrid Colony into a 4/4, but I'd really like to draw Rise of Extus. Otherwise we're in trouble. I suppose I could double block. No, because they're just gonna Expanded Anatomy. Why would they do anything else? And they are gonna reflect it. This is the best use of Reflecting Golem I've seen. Or Reflective Golem I've seen. Okay. They go to combat. They attack for 7. I think I got a chump here. We untap. Okay, they play a Silverquill Campus. There we go. Play Rise of Extus. Exile Expanded Anatomy. I think we take Fractal Summoning, as I would rather have one large thing here. Go to combat, hit them for 4. Because we're not blocking Menace, so we need to get in for damage. Opponent goes to 8. Yeah, I really think this card is underrated in draft. Just 1 mana, put a 1/1 counter, draw a card. That's, to me, better than Defiant Strike most times. Especially when you can somewhat choose what card you draw. So put a place Pilgrim of the Ages, they get to tutor up a Plains. Mage Hunter's Onslaught, we draw a card. Untap, we draw Leech Fanatic. I think it's better to fight the Unwilling Ingredient now and gain extra life. Alternatively, I can make a big Fractal. Do I play both? I could play both. Let's Leech Fanatic and fight. We lose out on the attack, but I think it's important to get rid of this Menace creature. And the gaining life matters a lot, too. This opponent's going to scry on their upkeep. They go to their main. They play a Plains. They play an Eager First Year. No attacks. We untap. Draw Damogoth Titan. I don't think I'm willing to trade here, so I'm just going to make a really big Fractal. Pass the turn. I'd like to draw another Learn spell so I could get Pest Summoning and make this Titan actually awesome. Opponent untaps. They're going to scry on their upkeep. They play a land. Hunt for specimens. So they get a Pest, and they learn something. Environmental Sciences, which they're just going to cast right now. Okay. They get a Plains. They gain some life. We untap. Draw Overgrown Arch. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Okay, opponent chumps, they gain a life. Play Overgrown Arch. Play Damogoth Titan. Pass the turn. Yeah, we're going to start attacking one at 11-10. I can tell you, it's kind of cool that like the couple of Damogoth cards that exists in Strixhaven are Uneven Power, Even Toughness. But this is basically only the case because Master Symmetrist exists, and that card would be way too broken otherwise. Opponent gets a Spirit Summoning. We untap. We draw a Snakeskin Veil. So let's go ahead and learn. And I think I go for Pest Summoning here. Okay, opponent scoops. They can't beat a repeatedly attacking 11-10. I feel like I should have Lash of Malice in this matchup. And it is probably more important than maybe the Colony. It's a little nebulous there, but we'll try it. Alright, a little bit slow, but I think this hand is good. We'll keep. We've got some good hard removal. Opponent leads on Silver Quill Campus. We untap and draw Mage Hunter's Onslaught, even better. Pass the turn. They play Eager First Year. We draw Mage Duel. Play a Forest, play a Swamp, pass the turn, excuse me. So we'll Field Trip next turn, then probably Witherbloom Pledge Mage the turn after if we draw land. Okay, opponent plays Callous Blood Mage, draws a card and loses a life. We untap and draw a Forest, play a Swamp, Field Trip, get a Forest, and I think I'm going to go with Pest Summoning. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Swamp. They play a Combat Professor, making this a 3-1. Okay. We untap. We draw another Rise of Extus. So I think we have to play the Pledge Mage this turn. Hopefully my opponent just like flies over it and doesn't have hard removal. And if they have the Mage Hunter's Onslaught here, we're going to have to really fight very quickly to try and get back on this board. Because we effectively did nothing for 5 turns. But we have the mana to hit all of our spells. It really depends on if our opponent still has gas. Like, good combat tricks and stuff like that. Okay, Guiding Voice on the Professor. Getting Expanded Anatomy, which they cast on the in the Eager First Year. So that's 4 in the air, 6 on the ground. We're going to gain a lot of life next turn. I think we take the 10. I don't think there's a single card they can have that is white or black at 1 mana that will do 3 more damage. 2 more damage I think was easy, but not 3. We untap and draw a Swamp. So we play the Swamp, and then, let's see, Devouring Tendrils, kill the Combat Professor, gain life. Okay, gain more life, perfect. Pest Summoning, gain life, make pests, then we fight here, gain life, kill the 4-4. We just drew like all of our hard removal. Opponent has Lash of Malice, which they cast on their own creature to make sure it's large enough to kill the Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I'm good with that. Pass the turn. We should have enough removal to carry us through here. 4 mana, 5 mana. Opponent plays Tenured Inkcaster, putting a 1/1 counter on the Callous Blood Mage. So they attack, we lose a life, and we will double block here. We have so much good hard removal here that, like, we can handle basically anything our opponent plays. We untap, we draw a Swamp. That's actually fine, because I'm going to get Fractal Summoning. So exile that, and I guess Guiding Voice. We'll get, yeah, Fractal Summoning. Okay, pass the turn. And then, if my opponent plays another big creature, we have another Rise of Extus. Professor of Symbology. Probably getting the Spirit Summoning. Unless they have a way to summon an Inkling. Okay, Spirit Summoning. But they can't cast that this turn. They play a Swamp. They cram Session, getting Expanded Anatomy. Then they pass. We untap. We draw a Forest. Play a Forest. I could go get another Pest Summoning. I could get Environmental Sciences. Expanded Anatomy is fine. I think they can put 2 1/1 counters on a creature and it gains Vigilance. These are the 2 cards in their hand. I think we just make a really big Fractal, because this forces them to play the Spirit Summoning. And if we draw land, we can get Expanded Anatomy and then start going on the offensive. This opponent has 1 unknown card in hand. It's a land. Here comes the Spirit Summoning. They're leaving Expanded Anatomy in hand. We untap, draw Leech Fanatic. So, Rise of Extus, exile the Spirit, and I guess the Spirit Summoning. We'll get Expanded Anatomy. Go to combat. Attack for 6. They go to 18. We play Leech Fanatic. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They did not scry on their upkeep. They play Expanded Anatomy and attack us for 4. We'll take 4. But they are out of cards. They're going to scry on our end step. We untap, draw another Leech Fanatic, play our own Expanded Anatomy, kill their guy. Nice. Excellent, excellent. Rise of Extus, broken. I would take it over a lot of the uncommons in this set, I'm not going to lie. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, we will be on the draw for round 3. And while this hand is a little bit slow, I think it's going to be good enough, unless my opponent is extremely aggressive. Okay, they lead on a swamp, which tells me they're probably in Witherbloom. Okay, or they're 3 colors. This is possible. We untap. Okay. I would like to basically not draw lands for the rest of the game. Opponent plays a Quandrix Campus. And to keep drawing lands, play Promising Duskmage. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Plays an island. Plays a Professor of Zoomancy. We draw Rise of Extus. I think I'm going to go ahead and Mortality Spear and attack for 2. Okay, opponent goes down to 18. They play a land. They attack us for 1. Sure. We go to 19. Deadly Brew. Okay, so opponent gets back Professor of Zoomancy, which is kind of annoying. We draw a Leech Fanatic. Play a Forest. Let's go Witherbloom Pledge Mage. They have a counterspell? Okay. Well, it's kind of like a remand anyway. They get Fractal Summoning. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. So they have Professor of Zoomancy and Fractal Summoning in their hand. Alright, opponent plays a Wormhole Serpent. We draw Cram Session. Play a Swamp. And I think I'm actually going to Rise of Extus because the unblockable rider on that seems pretty dangerous. I'll take Fractal Summoning as well. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play the Professor. We untap. We draw Devouring Tendrils. Play a Swamp. Play the Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Fight the Professor. Gain a bunch of life. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Man, if I get Deadly Brood again, I'm going to be quite annoyed. Okay, opponent Demonic Tutors. It's pretty good. They have to get the best card out of their deck. Is it Deadly Brew? Why is it Deadly Brew? At least they had to tutor for it, but like, oh, that's pretty annoying. So they get back the stupid Bear Professor again. We draw a Forest, play a Forest. Cram Session. Let's get Pest Summoning. Play Leech Fanatic, and then play Pest Summoning. We'll just go wide so there's no more Deadly Brew plays, and we can play our 6/6 in peace or whatever. Opponent plays a land. They play the Professor. We untap. Draw Scurrid Colony. Make a 6/6. And they have a negate. That's pretty good. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Manifestation Sage, get a 4/4 and a Team Pennant. I think I am going to trade here. It's kind of annoying, but opponent's going to be able to make an absolutely monstrous Fractal next turn. We take 2, then gain a life. We draw a Forest, play Scurrid Colony as a 4/4. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a land. They make the 4/4 a 5/5. They attack for 1. Just going to block the Pest here, I think. We'll take 5. They gain 1. Mortality Spear. Okay, that's annoying. Pass the turn. It's pretty bad for us. Opponent plays a land. Attacks for 7. We take 7. I think they just make a... They don't even make a big Fractal this turn. We draw Daemogoth Titan. Play Daemogoth Titan. Pass the turn. I kind of expect my opponent to have a way to answer the token, so then we can't use the Titan. Opponent goes Scrying. Then they untap. They draw. They go to combat. Alright. I think we gotta do this, but there's a really good chance we get blown out. Like, they just kill the Pest here at instant speed, and what do we do? Sack the Pest. They're gonna bounce the Titan? I guess that makes sense. I would have... If I were my opponent, I would have let me block, put the trigger on the stack, and then bounce the Pest, because then I don't get the Titan. Because if I had like a 10 to the Pests here, I could make a million Pests. My opponent gets a Containment Breach. We untap, draw a Swamp, and that's the game. Alright, pretty annoying. Opponent's like our deck, but better. I think I'll bring in the Lash of Malice, and I think I'll cut... Wait, cut here. I think I cut the Titan. With multiple Divide by Zeros, that Titan is going to be pretty bad. Man, multiple Divide by Zeros. And I thought multiple Rise of Extus was strong. Anyway, we're going to keep, because this hand's fairly aggressive. I would like to draw something to put a 1/1 counter on the Dusk Mage, or, you know, I'd like to draw our Blood Researchers that we haven't seen, despite having 2 of in the deck. Lash of Malice. Alright, play Leech Fanatic. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an Archway Commons. Pays for it. We untap. Draw Forest. Play a Forest. Play a Dusk Mage. Hit our opponent for 2 and gain 2. So I'd like to draw a Swamp. I'd like to draw a Blood Researcher. Cultivate wouldn't be bad. Okay, this looks like a Divide by 0. We untap. We draw Snakeskin Veil. Perfect. Go to combat. Attack for 4. If it's a Divide by 0, we just blank it with Snakeskin Veil. Okay. Opponent takes 4. We gain 4. Play Promising Dusk Mage. It would be really annoying if they divided by 0 the one on the stack, because we can't protect that. Yep. Okay. I guess that makes sense, though. They get Environmental Sciences. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They may have to cast Environmental Sciences here, just to make their land drops. That is the one bad thing about the Quandrix deck, is you have to be making your land drops. Lash of Malice. Well, I guess we'll try blanking that. Okay, they cast Environmental Sciences, they get a Swamp, and they play a Quandrix Campus. We untap, draw a Swamp, play a Swamp, go to combat, attack for 5, hit them to 11, replay the Dusk Mage they know about, pass the turn, they untap, they play the Swamp, Deadly Brew, so sack a Dusk Mage, opponent passes, we draw, Witherbloom Pledge Mage, go to combat, attack for 5, opponent bury in books, okay, they take 2 and go to 9, play the Pledge Mage, pass the turn, opponent untaps, so we don't know what our top deck is, but the top deck after that is Leech Fanatic, which is not great. Okay, opponent plays a Serpentine Curve and suits it up. I really need to draw a land here. Mage Duel, we can turn this into a larger creature. If I Lash of Malice, I can turn this into a 9/5. I guess it doesn't. I guess I have to use Lash of Malice and Mage Duel this turn to get through that stupid token. The problem is I can't use Dusk Mage to actually do the fighting, because that's 1 power and toughness too big. Because I can get this up to 5. No, I guess. Alright. Lash of Malice. Gain life. Shrink that. Fight here. Go to combat. Hit them for 2. So we're drawing Leech Fanatic next turn. And then hopefully we're drawing a land so we can cast Rise of Extus. Kind of hoping my opponent runs out of gas. Their deck is really good. And I don't think we're favored to win. They're just going to get Deadly Brew. So they play Blex, Vexing Pest. We untap. Draw Leech Fanatic. Play Leech Fanatic. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Wormhole Serpent and a tap land. Do we know what their last card in hand is? I don't think we do. Crap. We really need to draw a land and have for a few turns now. Pass the turn. If my opponent has a land, they can make both of their creatures unblockable. But that doesn't matter because we have such a high life total. Okay, they suit up Blex. They play an island. They're going to say he can't be blocked. That's fine. Take 4. We untap. We draw a Swamp. Well, time to maybe do this the only time it is possible to do this. Exile Wormhole Serpent. Question is, what do we get? Expanded Anatomy is nice, but they have another Divide by 0 somewhere. Between Divide by 0s and Bury in books, they have a lot of ways to deal with that. I still think it might be my best bet, though. Pass the turn. We can't attack. Team Pennant, pretty good equipment and limited. Opponent goes to combat, attacks for 4. No blocks. We go to 21. They play a land. So, looks like they're pretty flooded. We draw Blood Researcher. So let's Expanded Anatomy. Go to combat. Attack for 4. They scrying. Okay. They're scrying. They don't have enough mana to scry again. No blocks. They take 4 and go to 3. Play Blood Researcher. Pass the turn. First time we've seen this card. All league. If we can gain life, we can guarantee lethal. Opponent is scrying, but on their main phase. So either they have something really good to cast and they're just trying to like save time, or they drew like an opt and have a way to dig for cheap to find an answer. I think we might have them though. Deadly Brew. So they get to get back a different permanent. I'm going to sack, I think, the Leech Fanatic, actually. I could have sacked the Dusk Mage to maybe draw a card, but this way our opponent's going to 1. Go to combat. They don't even have enough mana to have like another Divide by 0, thankfully. Hit them for 6. And I'm not going to cast anything else. Mage Hunter's Onslaught should end this game, basically regardless of what they draw. Okay, didn't have to show it to him. Whew. Okay, do we make any other adjustments? They have so many unsummons, and unsummon is really good against us. I think we just run it back. We just need another one where we get on the board early and our opponent stumbles either on their mana or we have a way to blank their removal, like Snakeskin Veil or something. Because if we can blank a Divide by 0 and deny our opponent that draw, it's huge. So this hand actually could work. The problem is I'm almost certain I'm never going to draw any lands, even though I'm on the draw. Let's see. They're going to choose to play with 7. Man, do I risk it? This is for the whole league. I think I have to mulligan. I don't like it, but I will keep it. I'm going to put back the Pledge Mage. I really hope we draw cards that we can use to be really, really aggressive. Opponent starts on a tap land. That's pretty good. I'm glad we found our other color of mana. Play a Swamp. Pass the turn. So if I could get a Leech Fanatic to play on turn 2, that'd be great. Overgrown Arch is okay. It's not amazing, though. My opponent counters it. I mean, I wouldn't counter the Arch, but okay. I think they... Yeah, alright. I don't know if I would have done that. I feel like I would have countered something that could be an actual threat. We draw a Leyline Invocation, play Promising Dusk Mage, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a land. They play a Biomathematician, get a Fractal. We untap and draw Cultivate. Play a Swamp. I should not have done that. I should have cultivated this turn and then Mage Dueled. I have now locked myself into casting Mage Duel and not Cultivate, or playing Moldering Karok. Okay, we're Mage Dueling. Yeah, that was bad. That's the kind of mistake I can't afford to make. Okay, go to combat. Attack for 3. Because next turn, I basically have to play the Karok here. Opponent takes 3, they untap. They play an Archway Commons. Okay. They attack us for 1. So they either are going to divide by 0, or they have nothing. We draw a Swamp. Go to combat. Attack for 2. If they divide by 0, we play Moldering Karok. Okay, they take 2, go to 15. I don't know if they have any Mana Tithe effects in this format other than Mana Tithe, but I'll play around a Force Spike. Okay, here comes... Oh, it's a reject. Alright, not what I had anticipated. This card is good against creature-heavy decks, but it is slow, because you have to leave mana open. I definitely think it's only playable in the Quandrix deck and not the Prismari deck, because in the Quandrix deck you have access to actual good combat tricks and such. We untap. We draw a Forest. Go to combat. Attack for 2. No blocks. Okay, I'm going to Cultivate. We're going to get Forest. Okay. Pass the turn. This is just mainly going to make our Leyline Invocation creature larger. They play a land. They go to combat. They attack for 3. Okay, we go down to 15. 5 mana. Opponent plays Wormhole Serpent. We draw a Scurrid Colony. Play a Forest. Leyline Invocation. Make a Gigantic Fractal. Play Scurrid Colony. Pass the turn. The problem is that Fractal is really weak to 2 spells or 3 spells they haven't even played yet. I really hope that they try and be reactive with them if they've got them and we draw Snakeskin Veil, so we can at least get in once. So they're tapping Archway Commons, probably for a black mana. What black spells could they have here? At this point in time, I mean, I hope we're Deadly Brew. So we each have to sack, and our opponent gets back Biomathematician. So we sack our worst creature, which is the Dusk Mage, which still sucks, because if my opponent does have Divide by 0 or Bury-in Books, we're going to lose our 8/8. Okay, the fact that they're playing Biomathematician this turn is promising. We untap. We draw Witherbloom Pledge Mage. Go to combat. Attack for 8. They probably just chump. Okay, they do. Then we play our 5/5. Pass the turn. So Rise of Extus off the top would be great. Most of our learn spells would also be quite good. Removal would be good, because if we could get rid of the Wormhole Serpent, we could start swinging with the Scurrid Colony. They'd have to double block to kill it. Alright, they do nothing. I think we're just gonna flunge. If they have, like, Burying Books divide by 0, we're so screwed. Basically any tricks, I just have to hope that they're, like, out of gas and bluffing. So the question here is, do we kill the Biomathematician? Because if we do, and then they Deadly Brew, they get back something. And we know they have multiple Deadly Brews in their deck. Alright, we'll try it. God! Every time. Why would you not block the other creature if you were going to Burying Books then? Unless they have another combat trick that they're planning on using. Yeah, opponent's deck is way better than ours. At least we don't have to redraw the Fractal. But we gotta draw good... Oh my god, they took the damage unnecessarily. I guess this way we don't get to replay it. Wow, talk about an absolute blowout. Okay, we need to draw Mage Hunter's Onslaught or Mortality Spear. Or a Learn spell next turn. So we can play Witherbloom, Pledge Mage, gain life, and deal with this Wormhole Serpent. We take 5, go to 7. Opponent has a Fractal summoning, so they can make an absolutely massive 5/5 Fractal. They're finally almost out of cards, though. They drain us for 1 because of the Witherbloom Pledge Mage. And they left mana open. That's not scary. We draw Rise of Extus, play a Forest. If I play the Pledge Mage, I lose, because they can just sneak 2 of their creatures and kill us if they top deck a land. So we have to cast Rise of Extus this turn. Exiling, I don't know, divide by 0. Gotta get rid of the Wormhole Serpent. Do they have another negate? They have negate. Okay, we're just dead. If they drew a land, we were dead anyway. I should have read that negate better, but I don't think we had a line that could win, or even get us back in that game. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And remember, you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The last few times have been earlier than that. And, yeah, I still am enjoying playing Strixhaven Limited, and will probably continue playing Strixhaven Limited right up until Modern Horizons 2 releases. So, because I'm having so much fun in the format. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of May. If you want to support my channel directly and have your name show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Thank you all.